All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another NBA playoff video. In this video, we're going to recap the last couple games from the last couple days. We're going to talk about Cavs versus Raptors, Hawks versus Knicks, Timberwolves versus Nuggets, 76ers versus Celtics, Timberwolves versus Spurs, and Lakers versus Rockets. Spend a fair bit more time on these last two, Trailblazers and Spurs and Lakers versus Rockets. Talk a little bit about these other games, but we will go in order. But if you like what I have to say, like the video. If you have your own opinions, comment it down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. I do just want to preface these next couple videos with a disclaimer. I will be doing videos I guess like every other day. So I'll wait till at least like two games are played. Then I'll talk about the two games or however they're going to do the schedule. We're going to be talking about six games today. Six is probably the max I want to do in a video. That's as much as I can get within under an hour. So going forward, that's how it will be. Coming up, there's a day with only two games. I think it's tomorrow. So you guys will get a video tomorrow just because if I do those two games along with the other games that are going to come after that, the video is going to be like an hour long. And I don't want to do that to you guys. I don't want to stay for an hour talking about the same series, talking about the same players over and over and over again with very little discrepancy in the games. But we did have some interesting upsets um, the last couple of days, so we're going to get into that. But the first game we want to get into here is the Toronto Raptors versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. This was a very tight game at the end. Do not let the end game number fool you. Um, the Cavs won this game 115 to the Toronto Raptors 105. And it only looked so close because the Cavs let the Raptors walk back in a little bit at the end of this game. It was a good effort by the Raptors to try to win the game, to get back in it. But there were just, there were things I didn't love about this Raptors team. I didn't like the small ball that they ran at all during this game, specifically this game where they did small ball and the Cavs happily went to do it as well. And the Cavs were doing whatever they wanted with whatever lineup. It didn't matter who was out there for them. They were getting positive things happening for them. And the Raptors had very small moments of positive, like moving the ball and getting the ball down the floor, penetrating, hitting threes. They had good moments, but it just wasn't enough. And they made a really good run at the end of the third going into the fourth. And then it just didn't come about. I mean, you look at your starting lineup. Your starting lineup, you have three people in single digits. You have Jakob Poeltl with two. You have Jamal Shed with three. You have Brandon Ingram with seven. I don't expect him to have another bad game this series, but to only put up seven in a playoff game is worrisome. For RJ Barrett 22, Scotty Barnes 26. Off the bench they got Colin Murray, Boyle 17. See, how do you say this? Sandro, yeah. I was so focused on his last name. His last name's a doozy. Sandro with 12, and then Jacoby Walter with 14. So they got a lot more out of their bench than they did the starters. I mean, you replace those two people in the starting lineup with the two people that came off the bench. Maybe it's a different result. I don't know. Um, Moving on to the Cavs. Like I said, I really did like what they ran. Whatever lineup they threw out there, it worked. Whether it was the regular starting lineup, whether it was just Donovan Mitchell out there with the guys, whether it was James Harden just out there with the bench guys, and it was Evan Mobley at the five, whether it was Dennis Schroeder bringing up the ball, Jalen Tyson getting some ball handling responsibilities. It all worked the other night for the Cavs, and I have no notes besides, I think the Raptors just don't have the bodies. Like, they don't have enough people. Like, they have the right archetype of player to try to stop the Cavaliers, but they don't have enough of that player. You know what I mean? Like, Brandon Ingram's good matchup versus the Cavs. Scotty Barnes is a great matchup versus the Cavs. Not Brandon Ingram. RJ Barrett is a good matchup for this Cavs team. Long, lengthy, like sort of wing. Could play like the three to maybe the five. Those are the kind of players you want to try to beat this Cavs team, and they just don't have enough of those players. And the other players that they do have that are really good defensively just don't. They just haven't been in these moments. They haven't been in the playoffs, so they don't know what the whistle's different. The refs judge things differently. It just hasn't worked out for the Toronto Raptors, and they head back to Toronto down 0-2. The Cavs are up 2-0 in this series so far. Let's move on to the next one. Hawks versus Knicks. Oh man, this one was full of everything. Um, let me oh, here we go. Okay, I have my notes up. I just want to make sure I have it right. So early in this game, CJ had it going, and as much as I dislike CJ, just as like when he was the president of the Players Association, I didn't like him then, and he sort of that what he did sort of made me dislike him. CJ's been having a hell of a year. He's been having these really consistent games where he'll put up. I mean, what did he put up in this game for an example? He put up 32, and he's been doing that quite regularly this season. You know, whatever team, whether it was in Washington, whether it's in Atlanta now, he's been doing it all year, and it's just so weird to see a guy like CJ McCollum who hasn't never necessarily been looked at like the guy, the number one guard on a team. This lasts like 6 months for CJ's, but it has to be pretty good. Has to have been pretty good because he's been balling. I have to give him a lot of credit in this game. 32 points, 3 of 10 from three, 5 of 7 from free throw, 12 of 22 from field goal, 6 assists, 3 rebounds, 2 steals, 1 block. CJ did it all, and it started early in this game. Um, you also had some other guys pitching in a little bit. Jalen Johnson looked really good. Then he started to cool off, and then he came. When the Hawks were able to get back out in transition, that's when Jalen Johnson was really good again. NECA Oneka had a 15-point game, 8 rebounds, 2 rebounds shy of a double double. Not the greatest night for Nickeil Alexander Walker and Dyson Daniels, 9 and 6 points respectively. Nickeil did show up with 3 blocks, and Dyson Daniels showed up with 1 steal and 2 steals, 1 block. Pardon me. Um, so that was really what was going on for the Hawks early in the game. It was obvious from jump that Nickeil and Dyson were going to struggle this game, and it was also very obvious that CJ was going to have a game. I didn't know how much of a game. Sometimes these things happen in the playoffs where you have like a good quarter, a good half, and then you're not hot anymore. It was a slow burn for CJ. He was doing it all game. He was boiling a little bit. Um, for the Knicks, um, Josh Hart and Karl Anthony Towns were giving the Knicks extra possessions. Carl, throughout the course of this game, not just in the first half of the first quarter, hit some really deep threes. Hit some ones that are like, oh, okay, this looks like, I won't say old Karl Anthony Towns, but this looks like the Karl Anthony Towns that would just like throw up heaters, just like absolute meteors from space, just way far out. And he did a little bit of that in this game. We head into the third and the fourth. The Hawks start coming back. The Knicks don't really know what to do. I don't want to say it looked like they were panicking as soon as they hit the fourth quarter, but as the fourth quarter dragged on and the Hawks got really close, they tied it. They had one guy who kept pushing the Hawks and kept the Knicks down, and that was Jonathan Kuminga. Jonathan Kuminga had a really there was like a good, was it 3 4 minute stretch for Jonathan there where he looked really good, and that was the Jonathan Kuminga that I wanted to see when he was a Warrior, and he just never really got there. And to see him do it, like he was effectively closing this game out for the Hawks. At least before it got to real crunch time, he was closing the fourth out very well. And as we get into those closing minutes, I hate to say it because I like Jalen Brunson a lot. Jalen Brunson was getting picked on every single time the Hawks came down the floor. JB just got whether it was his fault or not, he just got caught in the worst situations. He got caught on an island a couple times in an ISO situation, an isolation situation. He got caught in screens. It was a bad fourth quarter defensively for Jalen Brunson, and Jalen Brunson knew this, and he knew what he had to do is if he couldn't stop them, he would have to score down the other end. He kept doing that. He kept trying to, if I'm gonna get picked on defense, I have to go down there and score again. So he did that a couple times, and it was like 2 or 3 times in a row. A matter of fact, but then it got down to the last couple seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, and he had a really bad turnover, trying to get I believe it was a game tying or a game winning shot off. Um, Then they come back down the floor, and another possession, still the same score. This time Jalen gets the shot up, he makes it. It's a three. They're only they've just tied the game. They didn't even win the game. They tied the game, and the game ends on free throws from who else but C.J. McCollum, and he makes one, and then he misses one on purpose. Maybe on purpose, I don't know, but he makes one and misses one, and then the Knicks have no timeout, so they just have to get it down the floor. They get it down the floor. It's in Mikal Bridges' hands, and he misses the shot, and the Knicks lose a game in Madison Square Garden. And now the series is tied 1-1 out there. Atlanta Hawks won the game 107 to the New York Knicks 106. Um, Next game here. This is it. We'll get through this one a little quicker here because not too much happened. The series is 1-1 now for the Timberwolves versus Nuggets. And the Timberwolves won this game 119 to the Denver Nuggets 114. And man, was it a game. The most obvious thing for me, and this is sans, this is like regardless if the Timberwolves won or lost, one of the first notes I have in this game is after the first quarter and like a half or so, you know? So what was that like, let's say like 12, 15 minutes? Like 15 minutes of game time? 15 minutes of game time, Anthony Edwards looked gassed. He looked tired. And to be honest, he doesn't look right. He just doesn't look right out there, man. I don't know what. He had 30 points, 10 of 25, 3 of 11. He was just throwing shots up to get shots up and try to keep his team in this game and to eventually go on to win this game. But man, does he looks tired. He looks exhausted. I don't think he looks hurt. Like he's moving okay, but he feels lethargic. He looks lethargic out there, and I can't quite put my finger on it because he came back. He's had a bunch of rest, and to show up in this Nuggets series, I mean, you won this game, but again, regardless of whether they won this game, and hasn't looked his best. And credit to the team for stepping up. Dante DiVincenzo with 16 in this game, Julius Randle with 24, Jaden McDaniels with 14. Um, did not stretch the floor particularly well. Dante took 7, made 4. He was the best shooter on those numbers that night. Bones Highland also 3 for 4 off the bench from 3. Um, but if Ant's not going to be right for this series, you're going to need to rely on guys like Julius Randle, like Jaden McDaniels. I love Jaden McDaniels. I love what he's done with his game this year. He looks so much more confident, so much better. So if they can have that version of Jaden McDaniels, Mr. Jaden Williams, Jaden McDaniels, while Ant gets over whatever he's dealing with, um, they're gonna need it, and they're gonna need another good game from Rudy. Because like I told you guys in my last video, Rudy had a really good game one, and they kind of spoiled it. This game he had a horrendous game two. 2 points, 7 rebounds, was this 2 turnovers, 5 personal fouls. You need to take advantage of those Rudy Gobert games because if you can have 4 guys near 20 and Ant only has like 20, like 18, 15, whatever, you're still going to win that game. Obviously, you want Ant to play well, but if he's just going to go out there and chuck shots and just hope stuff goes in, you're going to need to be a little bit more effective with your shots when you get them than everybody else in the starting lineup. Naz Reid with 11, Bones Highland with 13, Ayo Dosunmu with 9. What other notes do I have here? It was back and forth all game, and there was no separation in this game for the Nuggets, who it felt like were in control for a good majority of this game, but it just felt like they were one step behind once they got behind, and they couldn't handle we'll call it the blunt force trauma from the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves just kept hammering them, even without Rudy Gobert being there. The Nuggets were getting hammered inside. Um, Even though I would say for the Denver Nuggets, this was a positive game because almost everybody played well. Christian Braun had 16, Jamal Murray had 30, Nikola Jokic had 24, Cameron Johnson had 13, Aaron Gordon had 8. You'd like a little bit more from Aaron Gordon, but after that heroic first game from him, you let this one really bad game go. You let it go. It's not that bad. Even though that's not the complete right thing to say, like as a coach, you want you guys to always play well, but this one game you'll let it slip. You'll let it go. Um, any other notes for this Nuggets team? I mean, they're running a tight bench. They got 4 people coming off the bench, and that's it. And Tim Hardaway had 16, and he was the only really valuable piece on this bench outside of Bruce Brown, who another guy who had a really heroic game one. In game two is a bit more sour, the same as Aaron Gordon. So yeah, that's it. That's this game. Again, Timberwolves won 119 to the Denver Nuggets 114. Now the series is tied, heading to I almost said another name, Minnesota. So yeah. All right. So let's move on to third to last game, 76ers versus the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics had a commanding game one. They won in spectacular fashion. This game did not go the same way. In fact, it actually did go the same way, but the Celtics didn't play up to their competition. They just played as if the 76ers were going to roll over. 76ers got the win, 111 to the Boston Celtics, 97. And again, the biggest thing for the Celtics team, like I said, is the 76ers showed up to play this game. The Celtics didn't look any better than they did their last game. They looked the exact same. And that's not a positive thing because they weren't playing up to the competition. They kind of just were like, oh, they're bad, right? It's the same reason why they beat the Orlando Magic in the last game of the regular season was they just went there like mentally, like they thought they were always within arm's reach, which mean if you do look at the final number, it is very close. But in a game of runs, the 76ers had the Boston Celtics beat, and this was the VJ Edgecombe game. 30 points, 6 of 10 from three, was on fire, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. One of the youngest players to do this, feat 30 points and 10 rebounds in the NBA. I believe that was the stat that was floating around there. Is he's one of the youngest, if not the youngest, maybe 30 and 10. I don't know. Tyrese at 29. Terrible efficiency. This is just a terrible. These second games, a lot of people have had terrible efficiencies. God, I mean, one guy who didn't, Paul George, 19, 7 to 13, 2 of 5 from three, 3 of 6 from free throw. It's a pretty average Paul George game these days. Kelly Oubre with 12, good stuff off, good stuff. Helping out Tyrese and VJ. Andre Drummond with 10 points, 8 rebounds. Justin Edwards with 5 points. Um, the positives for this 76ers win, and you got a real guy. They have a real guy in VJ. I know VJ's been quiet for the last couple months. He was in Rookie of the Year talks, and he didn't really get there. He sort of pattered out. But to reemerge during this game in a critical game too, huge. 30 points for him. Really looked comfortable out there. Every time I was doing something else on my other monitor, I had the game up on my second one, and all you would hear is VJ, VJ, VJ. They kept VJ, VJ Edgecombe, Edgecombe from deep, this and that. That's all you would hear when I was looking away. Where are they on the screen? Oh, middle right. Yeah, right here, right there, right below the first box, second box down. Here on the right, yeah. There's VJ right there. Um, any other stuff before I start rambling? About the 76ers. Is this a chance to really The other thing is that the Celtics let the Sixers hang around too long in the beginning parts of this game. They didn't put them out. What's going to be key for the 76ers is starting with the same momentum. The Celtics aren't going to let you get into momentum after they've seen you do it one time already. That's going to be the biggest thing is the consistency for this Sixers team, and it's going to be hard. It's hard with two guards. It really is. I mean, you might get a Paul George really good game, but if it's just going to be Maxey and VJ this whole series, the Celtics can lock in on that, and they can make it really tough. You do have good forwards like Kelly Oubre and Quentin Grimes might be able to give you a game, but it's going to be a tough path forward. Going home to Philly, do I see the 76ers winning another one to make this a really interesting series? I don't think so. I think the Celtics understand now, and they were kind of messing around the game too, and I think they got this. Positives for the Celtics though. If this is the worst game everybody else is gonna have except the Jays, good. Um, Jalen Brown at 36, Jason Tatum at 19. Nobody else on the team in double digits. So if this was the worst showing for everybody, that's the only positive I can take away. Um, Everything else is just planning wise and being a bit more intentional with everything you do. Knowing that you might feel like the championship Celtics from a few years ago, but you have to remember you aren't. And and I've heard this from so many athletes who have won, especially like NBA, WNBA championships, wherever. Every season's different and every run is different. Even if it's going to feel the same, it's not going to go the exact same way. So to the Celtics, who might be one of the favorites coming out of the East, you have to take every game as a different challenge. It's not going to be the same team, the same game every time, and it's going to be completely different. If you do make it to the conference finals or even the finals, it might feel the same, but it's going to be completely different in the way you do it. Um, the next one, the last two big ones. The first one, Trailblazers versus San Antonio Spurs. First things first, before we get into the game, congrats to Victor Wembanyama for winning his first Defensive Player of the Year. Much deserved, much rewarded. Is that the right term? I don't know. He becomes the youngest player to win the award, I believe, and the first unanimous player to win Defensive Player of the Year, unanimously. That's crazy. I did not expect it to be unanimous. I thought there might be a few people that would vote, maybe like Scotty or Evan Mobley or Rudy Gobert. For it to go to Wemby at such a young age and for his defense to finally be solidified because he met the threshold of games he needed to play was really cool. And he seemed very humbled by it, but deep down inside, it's a good feeling to finally be recognized by the wider NBA universe. Whether a guy that just isn't potential anymore, that actually has some hardware to his name, which is good. Okay, the other thing, so he won that award the couple hours before this game, and then in the early moments of this game, Victor is going down the floor, loses his footing, and like slams his head on the hardwood and knocks himself out. Like if you watch the video, he's literally knocked out for a good like couple seconds, and then he gets up. But um, that is the picture on your middle right. Yeah, right here, number one, Victor Wembanyama in white. Yeah, he went down. He literally got up and he walked back to the locker room. So I assume he's not concussed, but he definitely has a he's definitely feeling seeing stars and feeling funky. And the NBA does have concussion protocol. Even if you don't have a concussion, they do keep you in the protocol just to be safe. That's I believe 48 hours. So and they have a day off in between games. So will Vic be back for game three? Uh, After what I saw, well, here I'll say this as somebody who wants him to play. From what I saw from the Spurs team in the last couple minutes of this game that they played against Portland, they need Wemby to come back. Um, to win the series, they need Wemby to come back. Even though I think the Spurs are the far superior team, I think I said this in I might not have said it about this matchup, but I said it a lot talking about the playoff matchups and what we could potentially see. Mitch Johnson, the coach of the Spurs, he's getting out coached a little bit by Tiago Splitter of the Portland Trailblazers. Getting out coached a little bit, just a little bit. He did show some backbone. He was arguing over a call that happened in the game, but I need the X's and O's, man. I don't need all the theatrics. I need the X's and O's, and I know this isn't like the first time he played without Wemby. Like we got to take this a bit more seriously. Um, in the course of that, trying to take it more seriously through this game, the Spurs ran a three guard lineup at some point, and it was a really small lineup. I believe it was. Let's see here. It was Fox, Castle, Harper, Devin Vassell, and somebody at the five. I think it was Luke Cornett or something at the five. Um, that lineup did not look terrible. It had its moments where it looked sustainable. As somebody who's a big fan of small ball, it kind of blew my mind to see it and be like, oh my god, wait, what? Like they were actually running guys out there that Like they weren't concerned about the rebounding too much. They just wanted the points, which is why the game was so tight or ended such a tight number 106 Trailblazers, 103 Spurs. Um, the the Blazers, what they couldn't do in speed necessarily because they would just run out their regular lineup. Um, they beat the Spurs up. There was a couple times where a couple people got dinged on the Spurs team. Um, some it was somebody's hand, somebody's arm, somebody's chest. It was wild to just to see how often like they would take like a TV timeout or they would ask the coach to take a timeout. The refs would, and this Trailblazers team. It's so interesting that I'll use the term they were allowed to beat the Spurs up essentially, um, and they mentally beat the Spurs up into a place where I don't know if they can close games in this series without Victor Wembanyama because as much as for the Spurs I do like game closers like De'Aaron Fox, like Keldon Johnson. Um, Nothing beats like an old reliable Wemby whatever, lob fadeaway whatever. Johnson did play well in this game for the Spurs. Where is he? Right here. Keldon Johnson pitched in with 7 points, 1 of 3 from three, 3 of 7. That was mostly in the second half where he heated up. Got some points on the board for them. And then for the Trailblazers, I've been saying it for a couple weeks here, and I'm glad it's flowing around the internet now. Scoot Henderson for the um, Trailblazers, he's been working up to this moment the last couple weeks and the last couple times I've seen him play. He looked amazing. This was the best game of pro basketball I've seen Scoot Henderson play. Truthfully, 31 points, 1 rebound, 0 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. When they needed it the most, when Denny didn't have it going, when Drew Holiday was sort of dishing off responsibility, trying to get others involved, Scoot Henderson stepped up and he played 38 minutes, 31 points, 5 of 9 from three. It looked great doing it. I mean, left of your screen right now, bottom left. I mean, like he looked good. He looked really good. I'm really happy for Scoot. As somebody who's dunked on Scoot a lot, who I like to poke fun at because he was compared to Wemby at some point during their draft process together. I didn't think Scoot would get there, but if this is this version of Scoot you're gonna get, he's at least like an all-star level guard, and that's really hard to be in the NBA. So hope it keeps going for Scoot. I hope they don't win this series, but I hope it keeps going for Scoot. Um, he stepped up big time, and then by the time he got to the fourth, by the time he got to the end of the fourth, um, the Spurs were sputtering. There were so many chances that Luke Kennard tried to save for the Spurs heading down the stretch. There was one sequence where he got like 3 rebounds and like one trip down the floor, um, and then at some point during the fourth, there was a timeout to be called, and it just didn't happen. Um, and the Blazers were out there doing whatever they wanted. Um, there was great defense by the Spurs, just like right until the last seconds, and they couldn't stop them. That's literally all my notes here. Just can't stop them in different variations of that. On the last shot though, the last shot was in Devin Vassell's hands of the Spurs. He got way up there. He like levitated to try to get over his defender, and it was a great look too. It was straight on. It looked good. It bounced out. It was fine. I mean, uh, I didn't love the way we got to that shot, but for him to get up there and rise up, that was fine. Um, and there was no plan for the Spurs in the final minutes, defensively, offensively. They had those moments where when you're relying off just like your physical gifts and like your instincts. That was fine, but like when it came to actually having a plan defensively, it wasn't really there. You could tell like they were like, oh damn, Wemby isn't out here backing me up. I got to really lock in, and they didn't lock in for a lot of those possessions. Then offensively, I love me some De'Aaron Fox. I love me some Stephon Castle. It's not the time. It was not it. In those moments, The coach Mitch Johnson needs to understand this ball can't go to De'Aaron Fox right now. He's 6 of 16, 1 of 3 from three. It needs to go to somebody else. Stephon Castle 7 of 20, 2 of 6 from three. It has to go to somebody else. And I know these are your guys, and I know you have to trust them. But with such a young team and so many options and so many athletic players, you could drop something a little more creative than like a three that's going fading to the corner, and you could close out this game and you could win this game. Again, Portland Trailblazers won this game 106 to the Spurs 103, and they head to Portland. And this, I also want to say this. This is very dangerous for the Spurs because they could come back to. What is this still the AT&T Center? I don't know what it is anymore. Come back home to San Antonio, and they could be down 3-1. There's all likelihood that's possible, especially if Victor misses one game. You could come back and be down 3-1. It's entirely possible. Do I think it? Maybe. I don't know. I don't. This. Most of they have a lot of older guys on this team, but the main people who are going to give you buckets and you have to rely on are very young, and I don't know if they're ready for that to walk into the Moda Center in Portland and try to do that in front of those fans. Those fans get crazy. They get really crazy. Okay. Last game here, and I saved the best for last here. This is about the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Houston Rockets, and man, oh man, I'm not gonna be the first person to say it. I'm not gonna be the last either. Some people like me. Some people um, thought a little bit differently. I was one of the people that have been on both sides of the the road for this Rockets team. I thought they were going to be really good coming into this season. I thought they could be the number one team in the conference. Um, I thought you have so much young youth. You have Kevin Durant. You were going to have Dorian Finney-Smith, who was going to play a big part. Um, Obviously, we knew Fred VanVleet wouldn't be there. And I thought they'd still be really good. And then as the season has dragged on, and as we came to the closing stages of the regular season, I think everybody was in the same thought process of this Rockets team does not have an identity. And I'm not going to waste your time going through this game too much. I'm just going to tell you how I feel and my reactions to stuff from the game. Um, this Rockets team looked horrendous. It looked awful. It's the worst it's ever looked. And I'm not even being hyperbolic when I say this. A lot of stuff's on the line for this Rockets team. And long term, there's nothing at risk. Long term, there's nothing at risk. In the short term, in the immediate term, right now with this group, and I'm talking about group, I'm talking about the coaching staff, the players, the bench players, the players that haven't played for Van Vliet. There, when I'm not even gonna say if when they lose this series, inevitably, there's gonna be a lot of finger pointing, and there's gonna be a lot of things that are going to go wrong with this Rockets team. Ime Udoka, I love Ime Udoka as a coach of the Rockets right now. His reputation is on the line because you're playing a Lakers team with no Luka, just LeBron, no Austin Reeves either, and you have Kevin Durant, Alperen Sengun, and Ahmed Thompson as your best players. That should be enough. And to add on top of that, you have Jabari Smith, you have Josh Okogie, you have Tari Eason, you have I guess Reed Shepard. Um, it should be enough to get past your round one matchup, the Lakers, without their best players. Only one of their best players is playing right now. But you let LeBron and you let JJ Redick, the coach of the Lakers, dissect you. Those two basketball minds together, taking down an already unstable Rockets team, was not on my bingo card, but it's at this point you have to be realistic about it. But yeah, the Rockets need to be honest. They're not organized. They don't have a point guard, and Kevin and Ime are two really smart guys, and they should be able to figure this out. I just don't know if they're smarter than LeBron and JJ Redick. Um, to get into this game a little bit, both teams were flying down the floor. At times, there was barely any defense being played. They just wanted to get back and back and forth, bucket for bucket. Lakers got a really good game from Rui Hachimura. You got the one game that you needed from him. I mean, he gave you maybe not the game, maybe 13 points, 2 assists, 5 rebounds, 3 or 6 from three. You needed those three threes. You need them because Nobody else really gave you anything, so maybe this was the game for Rui. Um, the Rockets had like an insane amount of, or an insane point drought without Kevin being on the floor, especially in this game. It was like the Rockets have only scored 14 out of like whatever many Kevin had scored at that time would have been like 20 or something like that. What did he end with? 23. So he probably had what, 18, and then the rest of the team had 14 maybe. Yeah, it wasn't. It just kept getting worse. The biggest thing that came out of um, the second half was the defense they played on Kevin. They ran so many bodies at him. Um, you can see in the bottom right. I mean, they threw whoever they had at him on him. Tried to get the ball out of his hands, and it worked. And at times, the ball did find the right person for the Rockets, but most of the time it didn't. It just ended in a bad possession. So many shot clock violations. Um, and the Lakers started heating up on both sides of the floor. Even though they were really good defensively all game, they turned it up even more in the third and the fourth. And offensively, you knew it was time for them to get going because LeBron had one of his better games, one of his game manager games where just a little bit of everything, didn't need to do too much, and they got the win. And LeBron had 28, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, had a really good dunk, had some bad missed layups. But other than that, he had a really good game where he just managed everybody else. Marcus Smart at 25, Luke Kennard at 23, Rui Hachimura at 13. It was just a game it's like this is a buy me more time game. This is like LeBron giving the Lakers one game that they don't have to win in Houston, essentially, and then there's more time for Luka to come back eventually. Um, what was it? What's his name on the call? Who was calling this game? Oh man, I forget who it was. But one of the commentators said the Lakers are flooding the Rockets. Like anytime anybody that can do almost anything with the ball had the ball, they were getting flooded. They were getting doubled, especially Kevin, the one making those decisions. And I said this in my last video. I was like, Kevin came back this game. Obviously, he played. But I said, if it's just going to be Şengün and Thompson and Jabari, that's a lot on Şengün to be the sole creator. And then to make that situation even worse is that when Kevin's having a bad game, when Ahmed Thompson can't get it going, when Jabari's only hitting a couple threes, and Şengün's getting down there and trying to do what he does all game, he can't because everybody else is having a bad game because they know how to stop Kevin, and all they need to do is like just make you shoot a push shot, and that's their best thing they can do for Şengün, and it worked. Um, Jared Vanderbilt had some good defensive minutes. Jake LaRavia as well. Um, and Houston, for what it was worth, did an okay job on LeBron, even though I think a lot of those missed shots were missed foul calls. But um, it just wasn't what you needed to do to stop LeBron fully because LeBron was just managing his time, managing the game, managing everybody around him, and it made it impossible for the Rockets to dissect them, truthfully. And then the last shot for the Rockets. Do we even need to talk about it? It was a falling away three from Jabari Smith Jr. Um, I all of Ime's stuff with the Rockets, like late game stuff, has been horrific all year. So I wasn't surprised. I was just disappointed that they didn't try something a bit different. Um, Especially considering how figured out they've been all game. They're like our best option is to just throw it in and chuck up a shot immediately. Because if you shoot fast enough, then they can't play defense, right? And that's dead. That's for real how they thought. And that's it. That's the video. Like I said, we're gonna cover these games every other day, depending on the schedule. Obviously, as more teams are eliminated, there'll be more time in between games, and we'll get back more into the regularly scheduled stuff as well, with the WNBA, with some other stuff as well. So yeah, the end screen should be up right now. Check out the playlist on the right. Check out the video on the left. I'm sure you will enjoy them. And if you click my little icon right in the middle, a subscribe button will pop up, and you can subscribe with these, like and comment as well. and I'll see you all next time. Cheers.